When my neighbor's mother accused me of being an abuser, I was the only one looking out for her son. Devastated, I cut ties and never looked back. A year later, she was driven out of town and tried to pull me into her downfall. I was 18 when resentment toward my little brother began, the same year he came into the world. Until then, my mom, stepdad, older brother Derek, and I were crammed into a 375-square-foot house. Mom spent our scarce extra cash on hookahs and cheap beer. We were so poor I couldn't recall the last time I'd used proper toothpaste, not some diluted paste stretched to last longer. But caring for my newborn brother, Juan, changed my perspective. It wasn't easy, mind you. He wailed every night until he was exhausted, and his diapers were a nightmare, seemingly bigger than him. Yet his charm was undeniable. Those wide, starry brown eyes and tiny socks that always brought tears to my own. At 2 months old, Juan inspired me to start an at-home daycare. Nothing fancy, just a practical solution for neighborhood moms juggling too much. I charged $15 a day, capping it at 4 kids under 10. Derek, who never pursued college, pitched in and took a 20% cut. By week's end, we had more money than I'd ever held. We were thrilled. So much so that we moved the daycare to our neighbor's place, 3 floors, 2 bathrooms, plenty of space. She only asked for 10% of our earnings, saying she supported helping local moms. We scaled up to 8 kids before trouble arrived. The issue wasn't the kids, it was one set of parents. Their 3-year-old son, Mateo, had bright blue eyes, brown hair, and endless energy, dragging chairs across rooms for no reason. His mom handed him off with outstretched arms, her face twisted like she'd tasted something sour. She'd rushed to the sink, scrubbing her hands raw as if touching him was unbearable. I couldn't fathom why. Mateo was easy to manage, always cooperative, never making messes out of laziness. He smiled constantly. But on his 3rd day, I noticed something odd. When he yawned, his gums were swollen, dwarfing his tiny teeth. Not knowing much about kids, I teased, "When you last brushed those teeth?" "Brush," he giggled, nearly toppling over. "Mommy says it's not important. She doesn't care about me." His smile was so matter-of-fact it broke my heart. I reached to pat his head, unsure how to respond, and when I checked my phone afterward, my fingers were coated in thick, greasy residue. His hair was so oily it could have fueled a fast food fryer. Shocked, I realized Mateo's mom was barely maintaining his hygiene. As an unlicensed male caregiver, I couldn't bathe him, so I did what I could, grabbed a spare toothbrush and cleaned his teeth. Within seconds, blood appeared, confirming my fears. I needed solid proof before acting, so I dusted a tiny amount of baby powder in his hair. The next day, it was untouched. By week's end, his scalp reeked so badly I gagged holding him, and his tongue was coated in yellow plaque. Staring into his loving, hopeful eyes, I knew I had to act. I called CPS. "There's a child I'm caring for who's being severely neglected," I said firmly. The social worker responded casually, "Any visible injuries or cuts?" As if Mateo was just a number. "This isn't abuse, it's neglect. His mother isn't bathing him or brushing his teeth," she laughed dismissively. "So no bedtime routine and you're calling CPS?" My stomach sank. Before I could argue, she hung up. I realized I'd have to handle this myself. Later, before Mateo's mom picked him up, I told Derek. He thought I was overreacting until he saw and smelled Mateo. His face twisted in disgust, then hardened with resolve. "I've got this," he said. "Trust me?" I nodded and handed Mateo over. When his mom arrived 20 minutes later, I regretted speaking up because Derek unleashed chaos. He didn't shout. That would have been simpler. Instead, he started recording her the moment she walked in, capturing her grimace as she reached for Mateo. "Hold on," Derek said calmly. "I'm documenting his state first." He listed everything, greasy hair with baby powder still visible, swollen gums, crusted tongue, while she stood frozen, her face shifting from confusion to rage to fear. "What are you doing?" she snapped, clutching her purse strap so tightly her knuckles whitened. The other kids were gone, leaving just us, Mateo, and her in Mrs. Rodriguez's living room. "Gathering proof," Derek replied. "Since CPS ignored my brother, I'm ensuring they listen now." He turned to Mateo, his tone soft. "Buddy, when you last have a bath?" Mateo's face scrunched in confusion. "What's a bath?" Mrs. Rodriguez, rocking in her chair, gasped softly. Mateo's mom yanked him by the arm. "We're leaving. Show that video to anyone and I'll sue you for filming my kid without consent." Her voice was venomous, eyes flicking to the door. Derek's smile was cold. "Go ahead, but I've already emailed this to myself, my brother, and our neighbor. Oh, and CPS is visiting your place in an hour." He was bluffing about that last part, but her face paled. "You can't prove anything. It's your word against mine." She pulled Mateo closer, avoiding touching him more than necessary. "Actually," Derek said, holding up his phone, "it's your son's words, his condition, and this video of you threatening a lawsuit instead of addressing his neglect." The window's afternoon light glinted off the screen, illuminating Derek's resolve. She stormed out, dragging Mateo so fast the door slammed, knocking a framed photo off Mrs. Rodriguez's wall, its glass shattering. I turned to Derek, panic rising. "What did you do?" "She'll ruin us." My voice was shrill, my mind racing to our daycare, our income, our fragile stability. Derek shook his head. "She won't. If she tries, this video goes viral and CPS knows what to look for." He showed me the footage, clear and damning. Mrs. Rodriguez picked up the broken frame, her hands trembling. "You did what was right," she said softly. "That boy needs saving. Hold on to that." 2 days later, a new social worker, Olivia, arrived. Her kind eyes and determined expression set her apart. She apologized for her colleague's dismissal, explaining CPS was overwhelmed, often prioritizing physical abuse over neglect. "No excuse, though," she added, settling on our tattered couch, notebook open. She confirmed a home visit had found Mateo's conditions as we described. "He's with his aunt temporarily while we investigate. Thank you for not giving up." Her words eased my guilt, but relief was fleeting. The next morning, Mateo's mom stormed into Mrs. Rodriguez's house, shoving past me. "You think you've won?" she hissed, jabbing my chest. "You've destroyed my life, I'll destroy yours." Her breath reeked of smoke and stale coffee. She turned to the parents dropping off kids. "These two are under investigation for harming children. My Mateo came home bruised." Parents froze, pulling their kids closer, suspicion clouding their faces. The room felt suffocating. "That's a lie," I shouted, but the damage was done. Parents promised to look into it, their trust shaken. By day's end, we had 2 kids left. By week's end, none. Mateo's mom had obliterated our business with lies. The house, once alive with children's laughter, was silent except for Juan's cries. Derek paced our cramped living room. "We did the right thing, and this is our reward?" He fumed. "We should fight back, tell the truth." It wasn't that simple. Mateo's mom had spread rumors we'd abused Mateo, claiming she'd caught us and we'd fabricated neglect to cover it up. She'd outmaneuvered us. Mrs. Rodriguez, fearing her own reputation, asked us to stop using her house. She believed us but couldn't risk the community's judgment. Our income vanished. We were back to scraping by, diluting toothpaste, the brief taste of stability gone. Juan, now nearly 3 months, lost the special formula and soft diapers we'd just afforded. I'd lie awake, listening to his breaths in his drawer crib, vowing to fix this. Yet I couldn't regret our actions. Mateo's gap-toothed smile, his trusting eyes, made it worth it. 2 weeks later, Olivia called. "Mateo's father has been found," she said brightly. "He'd been searching for his son for years after the mother vanished with him. He's got temporary custody." Relief washed over me, something good amid the chaos. But our reputation was still in ruins. Mateo's mom claimed we'd extorted her, demanding money to stay silent. Neighbors avoided us, glaring at the store, bus stop, even church. Derek wanted to record her threats, but I feared more conflict. Then came a turning point. At the grocery store, we overheard 2 women in the next aisle. "Those daycare boys hurt that child," one said. The mom showed me bruised photos. The other nodded. Something was always off about them, starting that daycare in that tiny house. Probably needed drug money. Derek snapped. He stormed over, phone out. "Want the truth?" he asked, voice tight. The women jumped as he played the recording of Mateo's mom's disgust, Mateo's confusion about baths, her threats. Shoppers slowed, drawn to the scene. "She's been lying," Derek said. "We reported her neglect, and this is her revenge. Those bruises, they showed up after Mateo left our care." His voice broke, raw with emotion. The women's faces shifted from suspicion to shock. "Why haven't you shared this?" one asked. Derek's smile was grim. "We're starting now." Word spread fast. Derek shared the recording with neighborhood gossips and Olivia. The evidence was undeniable. Parents apologized, begging us to reopen. Mrs. Rodriguez welcomed us back, refusing her 10% cut. But Mateo's mom doubled down, accusing us of running a child trafficking ring. Most dismissed her, but some lingered, driving by our house, watching us. Anonymous police calls brought officers, who left without action. One night, a brick crashed through our window, a note in red marker. "Child abusers get theirs." Juan woke screaming. Derek wanted to go to the police, but I feared escalation. We took turns guarding the house at night. Then Mateo's father stepped in. Grateful, he arranged a community meeting at the church. He shared how his ex had kidnapped Mateo, how we'd reported her neglect, how Mateo was now thriving. "My son didn't know what a toothbrush was until these boys helped him," he said, voice cracking. "He was malnourished, infected. They didn't harm him, they saved him." The room fell silent, his words sinking in. Mateo's mom didn't appear. She'd fled town, leaving her apartment abandoned. Our reputation was restored. Parents begged us to restart the daycare, offering higher rates. Mrs. Rodriguez welcomed us warmly. Within a month, we had 8 kids again, earning more than before. Parents trusted us fully, some bringing meals or clothes for Juan. Derek enrolled in childcare certification, and I started early childhood education classes. The textbooks cost a fortune, but they taught us proper care techniques. Juan, now 6 months, became our daycare's mascot, babbling and grinning, his first tooth a tiny milestone. Mom cut back on hookahs and beer, helping occasionally, her maternal side rekindled. Our house, still small, felt alive with purpose. A year after meeting Mateo, his father sent a photo. Mateo stood before a 4-candle birthday cake, his smile radiant, hair clean, eyes bright. He looked transformed, healthy, and confident. The note read, "Thank you for saving my son. You're his heroes." I teared up and Derek framed the photo for our daycare, a reminder of our purpose. When challenges arise, tough parents, fussy kids, paperwork, we glance at it and remember why we do this. Looking at Juan, I recall how I once resented him, thinking he'd only add to our struggles. Instead, he sparked everything good. His needs pushed me to find strength I didn't know I had. Sometimes, what we think we despise becomes our greatest blessing, and doing what's right, even at great cost, leads us where we're meant to be.